Serving up a warm dish of the Triad's culinary fare, here's your weekly helping of food, news, and views. This is the man who ate the town.
Hey folks, and welcome to episode 231 of the Man Who Ate the Town podcast. This is for the week of May 8th, 2023. My name is Tim Beeman, and I'm opening the recipe trunk. I'm recording this episode of the Man Who Ate the Town in the Such and Such Media Studios at Liberty Plaza. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcatchers like Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify, or others like that, I'd appreciate a like, a follow, and a rating. It would help me tremendously. This episode of The Man Who Ate the Town is brought to you by Mojito Latin Soul Food, your go-to Cuban and Latin-inspired restaurant. You need to go by and have what I have called my favorite sandwich in town, the Cubano. If that's not your thing, try the ceviche or pork belly appetizers, and try their grilled or fried chicken. Have the congri, which is yellow rice and beans with pork belly. All delicious stuff. Mojito Latin Soul Food does reservations takeout and has a rather large outdoor patio. And now that it's getting warmer, that will be the place to be. And they will do deliveries to surrounding businesses like Fiddlin' Fish, Broad Branch, and Wise Man. Check them out on their Facebook page and at MojitoLatinSoulFood.com. There are a lot of things happening here in the Winston-Salem food scene. Claire Calvin's East of Texas is kicking. Old Calcutta is getting rave reviews. The Downtown Grill's working on their reputation, and that's a good thing. I think they had a little stutter or two. And Vida is open, and just looking at the pictures, it makes me so hungry. Hey, Street Team Steve, maybe that's where we go next. Vida. Sounds good to me. Our favorite Snoop, Carol Leggett, broke the news that Will Kingery and Norb Cooper have sold Willow's Bistro. I have so many memories of Willow's, mostly because of my wife. We had a lot of time there, like our standing reservations at 7 p.m. on Saturday nights for a couple of years, just so we can go get Oberlied, which was Ryan Oberly, who's part owner of 600 Degrees. He would just see how screwed up he could get me or filthy drunk. And that was fun. When my wife and I were just friends, I took her there one day for dinner, and it was not a formal date, by the way. Maybe in my head it was. I don't know that it was. I don't think it wasn't hers. And maybe even if it was hers. I think she even makes mention that she put some thought into what she was wearing, so maybe it was a date. We celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, so many good memories. I think this leaves Will and Norb with the King's Crab Shack in the Pavilion Shopping Center as their only restaurant. And I will say that ever since Will's wife Dawn passed away, it's not been the same for him. At least not in what way I see it. I've not discussed it with him, and I probably won't. It's not my business. I'm just saying that's how I feel. The new owner is Brandon Brock. He plans to reopen, according to signage on the door, as early as June, maybe before then, as Sage and Salt Bistro. I hope he has luck on his side for this endeavor, and we plan on trying it out when it's available. One annoying thing about this has been for people who had reservations. A friend of mine, who's also a foodie, said she had friends who had reservations and they weren't alerted to the closure. I don't know how accurate that is, but I do have reason to believe the source telling me. Good luck to Will and Norb for whatever their futures hold, and good luck to Brandon. All right, hold on. I'm dragging the soapbox. Let me get up. Okay. Lot 63 is coming to Old Salem. It will be where the book and gift store has been. It was Teabaggy before that. My wife used to work where She used to work there before we knew each other. She still speaks of it often and fondly. Along with her time as an experienced tour guide and as a guide at St. Philip's, she really loved her time at Old Salem. Lot 63 will serve baked goods from Wilkerson's Moravian Bakery, beer made for them specifically from Radar Brewing, and coffee supposedly roasted locally. I see a lot of people complaining, bitching, and moaning about Wilkerson's coming in this close to Winkler, and that the tavern is sitting down the street empty, among other things. The complaints are that Old Salem is killing its destination with modern things. Okay, so let's get something straight here. Old Salem isn't doing this. This building is owned, truly as is most of Old Salem, by the Home Moravian Church. Old Salem Museum and Gardens has been under new management recently, and while in the past I wouldn't have put this past them, the church is the one or the entity doing this. Winkler's Bakery is part of the museum aspect. It does produce some baked goods, but not on the scale that would be needed to supply a true retail outlet. And some of their bread is outsourced anyway, to my knowledge. Everything's not done there. Guy Wilkerson's family has been doing Moravian baking since the 1920s. So it is still Moravian. It was a Moravian bakery. And they can do it on a scale to fit this kind of retail location. They are across the street, basically across Main Street, in what was the Jones Brothers Bakery, cousins to the Wilkersons, on Marshall. And one of my best friends, Paul Jones, his family owned the Jones Brothers Bakery. So settle down, folks. I love Radar Brewing, and I think they make fantastic beer. But I think it would have been better for lesser-known beer who are just outside of Salem. In fact, it was part of Salem when Salem was just Salem. And all their beers are Czech-style beers. Moravians aren't German, as a lot of folks want to say, but they're Czech. The history is Czech. That being said, I think Radar will do a fantastic job supplying beer for this venture. The tavern being empty is a whole other argument, but not for this place. The tavern needs a lot of upfit and a lot of care. There are a lot of things that would need to change for it to be functional as a place for this to work. The biggest reason the Kuipers sold out was because the work needed to be done, and Old Salem was not wanting to throw any money in for it. So for now, it sits. I have been, I'm not going to say who or when, but I have been talking with some folks about working on something to go in there. Not for me, but something for the future. But again, that's in the future. This is for now. So I'll say it one more time. Settle down. So let me go ahead and get this part out of the way. And we'll stand back. I told you so! I told you back in March that Slappy's Chicken was going to reopen. I was told that story was old, and no, they weren't. Why can't they give us an honest update? Why can't they explain why it took them so long? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I also broke the news that it was reopened. I wasn't scooping anybody, although I did actually scoop everybody. Michael Hastings mentioned me in the paper. The go-to Winston-Salem credited me with breaking the news, and so on. People still didn't believe me when I said it. They thought I was putting them on. By the time Michael and everyone else got there, the line was out the door and around the building. The rush was so heavy that the next day they ran out of chicken and had to be closed for 2 days to get it all back going again. While that could be construed as a problem, I think it's a good problem to have so much business that you sell out. Isn't that what you want? So I was tipped off that morning by Jennifer Brandenburg, the wife of Slappy's owner Scott, that there was going to be a soft opening. I went there, and other than the 2 barbers from Washington Park Barbershop on the back side of the building, I was the first one there as they opened at 11 a.m. I asked Scott, hey, you want me to keep quiet about this? And he indicated that he would rather me not say anything. Now, I know you're saying, Tim, you blabbermouth, he said not to say anything. Yeah, I know. So I took my food outside because it was a beautiful, beautiful day, and I could get a great picture with the natural sunlight. Scott came out and talked to me for a little bit, and he said, you know what? Go ahead and announce it. I think by this time he was probably just feeling better about it. So I offered up a secret on Instagram and Facebook. Shh, don't tell anyone, I said. By the end of the day, they were swamped. Now, I'm still on my soapbox, yes. I understand that people were in disbelief about the reopening. It had been a while. But one person, and I'm not going to mention the names, in the middle of most people's glee, said, but can they explain why it took almost 3 years to open? First of all, again, they don't owe anyone a motherfucking explanation. Second of all, why, amidst the revelation that the most anticipated reopening, or even opening probably, actually was happening, why bring that up? Will it stop anyone from going? No. They were without it for 2.5 years. What would they miss at that point? The truth is, the delay was doing it themselves. Contractor woes, glorious health and inspections department in this county, money, and so on. I mean, they weren't open. They weren't making money. They had to come up with that. I'll let Scott tell you about it when I have a conversation with him for this podcast. And thirdly, they still don't owe anyone, not you, not me, anyone, a motherfucking explanation. So shut the fuck up. You get your chicken place back. Go eat it, revel in it, and stop being a douchebag. One last thing before I put the soapbox away. This is a request from me to all the restaurants in town. Please, just raise your damn prices. Just raise them. Don't do an upcharge for credit card use. Don't offer a discount for cash payments. Just raise your damn prices. This way, the bitching folks in town would have only one thing to complain about with the restaurants and not 2. Also, it's more money in your pocket. If they pay with cash, then bonus, you have extra. Pay your employees a few cents more an hour or something. You people and your bitching gets on my damn nerves. I don't complain about a lot of things other than complainers. And this town has some of the worst bitching around. Now, I'll put the soapbox back. Hold on. Now, something of note, the 13th, that's Saturday, is the letter carriers Stamp Out Hunger food drive. And I'm pretty sure that the local mail carriers, letter carriers, participate in this. You can leave donations of non-perishable food items next to your mailbox before the delivery of the mail on the second Saturday of May this month, this year. It is the 13th, this Saturday. Letter carriers will collect those food donations on that day as they deliver mail along their normal postal routes and distribute them to local food banks, pantries, shelters, and churches. The Letter Carriers Food Drive is held annually in 10,000 cities and towns in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and Guam. Don't forget, hunger affects 1 in 8 Americans. The Go-To Winston-Salem and the new Go-To Greensboro is creating great content and is, in fact, in my opinion, the place to get your food news when you can't get it fast enough. The Go-To Winston-Salem.com and all over social. Follow Christy and her crew. Also, Paula Leggett over at the Food Venturist. It does a pretty good job of keeping you informed of the highlights of food places and things like that. Thefoodventurist.com, and I think you can find it on Facebook and Instagram too. Food holidays are presented by Diamondback Grill. It is casual dining located at the heart of Buena Vista in Winston-Salem. It is a fantastic family-owned farm-to-fork restaurant that sources most of its ingredients from local farmers, and the ambience is always amazing. I sent several colleagues to Diamondback for their dinners, their meetings, family outings. We have done our adopted family dinners there. They're just awesome. Diamondback Grill is at 751 Avalon Road. Find them online at diamondbackgrill.com, and downtown coming in the next little bit. On Facebook and Instagram. To make reservations, call 336-722-0006, and of course tell them that I sent you. Today is the 8th of May, and it's National Coconut Cream Pie Day. It's also Have a Coke Day, because on this day in 1886, Coca-Cola was first sold to the public at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta, Georgia. On the 8th in 1914, Congress passed a law designated the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day. It went into effect, issued the proclamation on the next day, President Wilson. On the 8th in 2000, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors approved legislation banning discrimination based on height or weight. It's good news for me, although I don't plan on working in San Francisco. The ban became law on 26th of 2000 when then Mayor Willie Brown signed the legislation. On the 9th of May, it's National Butterscotch Brownie Day, National Moscato Wine Day, and the Moscato grape, it's Muscat in Italian, is one of the oldest known grape varieties. On the 9th in 1785, the beer pump handle was patented by Joseph Brahma. Thank you, Joseph Brahma. Thank you so very much. In 2019, on the 9th, Mexico City announced a ban on plastic bags, straws, utensils, and other disposable plastic items. The 10th of May is National Shrimp Day. Also in 1876, on the 10th, Charles Elmer Hires introduced his new drink, root beer, at the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia. In 1898, the first vending machine law was passed in Omaha, Nebraska. In 2010, a 10-year-old third-grade student in Texas was given 1 week's detention for being in possession of a candy bar at lunchtime. The candy bar was also confiscated. That is stupid. I get that you want to combat childhood obesity or obesity of any kind, but the chances are a parent put that in the lunchbox or a lunch bag or whatever of this child. Just because the school wants to participate in not bringing it in there, the child from its parents should not be kept from that. Then again, I have problems with nut allergy fights too, where the only sandwich I ever wanted to eat was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and now a lot of places don't allow you to take peanut butter and jelly even if you packed it yourself, because it can get in the air and it can be dangerous. 2 people with a food allergy and 800 other kids, the 2 people should go somewhere else to eat. They should take them somewhere else. That's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's my opinion. I don't see where the needs of 2 outweigh the wants of many. Call me an asshole. On the 11th, it's National Mocha Tort Day and Eat What You Want Day, and that's what I do every day. So every day is National Tim Eats What He Wants Day. On the 12th, it's National Nutty Fudge Day. On the 12th, in 1777, Philip Lindsay, a London confectioner, first ran an advertisement for ice cream in the U.S. in the New York Gazette. On the 13th, don't forget letter carriers stamp out hunger food drive. Take your non-perishables like cans and box things to your mailbox before the mail runs. It's also World Fair Trade Day, a day to promote fair trade as a tangible contribution to fight against poverty, climate change, and the economic crisis that has the greatest impact on the world's most vulnerable populations. The 13th is also National Apple Pie Day, National Fruit Cocktail Day, World Cocktail Day, not fruit cocktail, but World Cocktail Day, International Hummus Day. In 1607, a group of 104 colonists arrived from England on May 13th and established the first permanent English colony in America. They named the settlement Jamestown in honor of King James I. And speaking of World Cocktail Day, in 1806, the first definition of the term cocktail appeared in print in the Hudson, New York publication, The Balance and Columbian Repository. Sorry, that's the Balance and Columbian Repository. In reply to a reader's question, it says, cocktail is a stimulating liquor composed of spirits of any kind, sugar, water, and bitters. On the 13th in 1950, Diners Club issued the first credit cards. And in 1958, on the 13th, Velcro was trademarked. On the 14th, it is Mother's Day, y'all. Honors to your mother, to your stepmother, to mother figures. All of them deserve celebration on Mother's Day. All of them. It's also National Buttermilk Biscuit Day. Maybe make a buttermilk biscuit for your mom. National Dance Like a Chicken Day. You can forget that one. I don't know. You don't have to do that. On the 14th in 1804, the Lewis and Clark expedition departed Camp Du Bois, which is Camp Wood now, in Illinois, beginning their voyage to the Pacific coast. On the 14th in 1853, Gail Borden applied for a patent for condensed milk. 1878, Vaseline petroleum jelly was trademarked by Robert August Cheeseborough. In 1985, the first McDonald's restaurant in Des Plaines, Illinois, became the first fast food museum. And in 2008, on the 14th, the Chicago City Council repealed its ban on the sale of foie gras, which is good because foie gras is delicious and we should all be able to have it. Now, I know the 15th is next Monday. I don't know because, this is on an as-needed schedule right now. I don't know if I'll be here on the 15th. But if not, the 15th is my son, Trey, I call him. It's Timothy the Third. It's his 21st birthday, so happy birthday to you, my son. I do love you. Food Holidays brought to you by James Ealer over at foodreference.com. The Man Who Ate the Town podcast is part of the Less Desirables podcast network. Along with this podcast, you can listen to the Less Desirables, Fan Interference, Beeswax Vinyl Daily, Wheeler's Dog, Asylum, the Kiss podcast, I Remember Now, the Queensryche podcast, and the Health Geeks Book Club podcast. You can find all these podcasts and their latest episode on our network website and directory, tldpodnetwork.com. Again, that's tldpodnetwork.com. This is a reminder to all of us, and all the listeners, and it's just good practice, not just now, but for always. Wash your damn hands. Wash with warm water and soap. Wash with soap for about 20 seconds or more. Sing along with this song if you don't know how long 20 seconds is. That is Two of Us from the Let It Be album, which was released on this day in 1970, several months before my birth. I make no promises again that this will be a weekly podcast, nor will I promise that it will be any kind of consistency in the scheduling. But you should be on the lookout for my blog, the social media, and this podcast to learn more about food news and views, really, and other happenings around town. If you have any food news, email me at tim@themanwhoatethetown.com. You can also contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter instant messengers. Yes, while I don't care for them, I still use them. Like us on Facebook. On Twitter, we are Man Who Number 8 The Town. On Instagram, we are Man Who Ate the Town. We invite you to call and leave a voicemail for the podcast or any podcast on the TLD network. You can call 336-422-6862. That's right, 336-422-NUM. Leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on the podcast. Again, 336-422-NUM-6862. My name is Tim, and I'm closing the recipe trunk. Until next time, thank you for reading, thank you for listening. Bon appetit.
Yamas. The views and opinions stated by me or any of my guests are solely those of ours and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of our hosting companies, distributors, enemies, friends, or relatives. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced or distributed without express written consent of the Man Who Ate the Town, that's me, and Such Limited Inc. However, if you ask nicely, we'll probably let you.